I know the things that drain me, well, my energy and my patience is greatest early in the day. I'm a morning person. So when I look at that email, I'm going to hit those things first. The tasks that take a lot of patience, that typically drain me, I'm going to do those first. When I have my high energy level, I'm going to get them out the way because they're not going to tax me as much. If I save them to the end of my day, it's really going to impact me into my evening. So you have to, but know yourself. That's not some people need to do that differently. They want to do all the fun stuff first and do that draining stuff at the end. It's no set way of doing it. The most important thing, in my opinion, is that you really have this sense of self-awareness. I know that doing this, not the whole job may not be horrible, but these particular things do not suit well with me. They drain my energy. I know that I have to do them in order to keep this job, right? That's the reality. That's big, adult talk. So you may have to do those things, but try to situate them in your day in such a way that they don't impact your whole overall outlook on your job or yourself.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and blessings, everyone. I am Michael Beckwith, your host of the podcast Take Back Your Mind. We are, of course, having beautiful conversations with individuals who are making a great difference in many people's lives, individuals who are assisting people to take back their own power, take back their mind, to come to a level of inner encouragement, a sense of self-love and appreciation, or inner success, or just continuing to grow, develop, and unfold to their greater yet to be. Today, I have with me Dr. Dravon James. Let me tell you just a little bit about her. And welcome, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Beautiful. Listen, she's a transformation specialist, inspirational speaker, radio host, life coach, and the author of Freedom is Your Birthright. She's the founder of the Next Step Leadership Academy, which empowers women to use everything that shows up in their lives, good, bad, or otherwise, to reach their next level of greatness, as well as everyday peace, a platform that helps and inspires others to build the life of their dreams. Dravon also hosts her own weekly radio show, Dr. Dravon James' Everyday Peace, on Mind, Body, Spirit FM. She was a leader in the healthcare industry for over 30 years and an actress whose career credits includes a recurring role, HBO's acclaimed The Wire. I remember The Wire. Many people are starting to watch that all over again. Hey, how did you get to be who you are today? What is your story? What is your insights that have happened that allow you to become, you were in healthcare for 30 years. Now you're encouraging a lot of people to live, to tap into their greatness. What was some of your pivots?
Yeah, I love that. And I still am in healthcare, but I tell people how you become a transformational specialist is through a thing that we don't want to ever hear is through hardship, right? And learning how to master the minefields of hardship. And so I had, grew up I'm from the South Side of Chicago and, born into a lot of the financial struggles that a lot of my peers grew up in. But, deciding and having a mom that pushed us to strive through that, and then entering into adulthood and having a marriage collapse after 27 years and career struggles, health struggles, and all through that process, holding on to something that, I didn't coin the phrase, but I certainly believe it, universal truths, right? And some wise old saying, right? This did not come to destroy me, but to make me stronger if I choose to accept that path, right? So it's all about perspective and knowing that I'll use this. I'll just like gumbo, put it in there. We can eat that too, right? So put it in there. We'll use it to get to where we want to go, being really clear where we want to go and being flexible on the pathway to get there. And that's what I teach in my clients. We'll use anything that shows up in our lives, the good, the bad. And I don't even like that word bad. It's the wanted and the unwanted, because some things we don't want to show up doesn't mean they're bad, but we just didn't want that to show up at that particular time. But we'll use it all. And that's what I've been doing with my life. Things have shown up that have looked quite unfortunate, but I've decided that I'll use that too. Thank you.
It's like they're like evolutionary triggers. As you talked about universal truth, the universe is always moving on our behalf, but sometimes pain and suffering cause an awakening, kind of. And so
Yeah.
that's why you don't call it bad. I call them evolutionary triggers. They assist us in our evolution if we pay attention to them properly. And this is what you're helping people do.
Right. I love that evolutionary truths, because that's really what it is. We get to decide what everything means in our life. I always tell people that, when my marriage was ending, and that's a horrible thing, definitely emotional. But I remember standing in my kitchen one day and saying, well, this is another story from the stage that will help me encourage somebody that's going through this. And we're going to come out on the other side of this better than we can ever imagine, not just me, but him too. And so just making that decision that this event, whatever this event is, I get to decide what the meaning it will have for me in my life. And everybody gets that. We need some coaching and some encouragement sometimes to really dig deep and find that somebody to hold our hand through that process.
Right. I like that, because I like to say at times we are meaning-making machines. And so you can actually, as you just said, you can give meaning. You can create the meaning of something. This is going to make me stronger. This is going to make me better. I'm going to learn something from this. I'm going to become a better version of myself. So we're not living as a victim. We're living as someone who's growing and unfolding. And this is what you're bringing to people. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that too. I love to tell people that. I said, if you're the victim, you're no longer able to tell the story. So if you're telling the story, by definition, you've got to be the victor, right? Somebody else tells the victim story. You tell your own story. That means you survived that thing, whatever it was. You
Right.
survived it. You tell it like you're sitting on the top of the hill.
Right. You create your own narrative.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Great Exhaustion. What is you have remedies for it as well, but how do you define that? What is that?
So that's a term that was actually put forth by a professor, Cal Newport, and he used that term to define what most Americans, most of the world, actually, I read articles about in Asia when they were experiencing this. They call it something different, but people really want to reestablish their relationship with work, because they realize that after the, COVID and all of this, that they are extremely tired, physically tired, and in a term that I grew up hearing with my grandmother, when we would have really hard times emotionally, or she would say, I'm tired in my soul. And I think that is a term that fits the Great Exhaustion. People realize that they don't have a human prioritized life. A lot of people, they have a work prioritized life. And
I
so a
like
lot of
this. I like this.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of their human needs are taking the back seat, and their work needs are taking the front seat. Well, what we're finding is that there's only so long you can run on that before your vehicle, your body, runs out of gas. And so that's caused it. And we can see it in the workplace. I think they have this thing we hear a lot: quiet quitting, or this, people have just, I'm just dialing it in on Monday, and because they really, not that they're bad people or lazy people, they really have overextended themselves. So we get to the Great Exhaustion, and they're stuck in the middle. They would like to leave, but what do we need? We need the money. They don't have it. So they're creating this sort of laying in limbo, if you will.
Yeah. And you're talking about the fact that many people since the Great Lockdown have come out saying, and actually leaving their jobs. They're actually like having a whole life change based on that. There's like they're realizing that what they were in was not soul satisfying at all, but they were just, as you said, they had a work life, but not a human life.
Right. Yeah. So we first had that. We had that great resignation during the COVID period and after. People just saying, hey, I don't want this. I can figure out a different way for me. And a lot of those people did not return to work, but the ones who did remain now are finding that they're experiencing the Great Exhaustion, which means that, I'm here. I can't figure a financial way out of this yet, but I really have no more to give you. I'm breaking down in every sense of the word. And if you think about it, that's really bad for business, right? That's bad business for companies. And so as a nation, probably as a world too, we've got to restructure and rethink this. How, what are we prioritizing here, and how do we want to show up, not only for the company, but for our workers and for the consumer?
Right. So you talk about career clarity. Hey, people have some kind
Yes.
of career clarity. Break that down for us.
Yeah. So understanding whether or not does your job meet your financial goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people are working in jobs where they are underpaid, and so being able to reevaluate that. Does your job fulfill your passions? Now, I can say as a life coach, a vast majority of my clients, very, very talented, doing very, very good, significant work, their work does not align with their passions.
Mm-hmm.
So having the courage to really do some self-evaluation and assessment and say, who am I at my core? And I just want to say, when I was in high school, all these years ago, I still remember this, sitting in senior seminar, and the speaker from the stage said, to write down on a piece of paper our most favorite thing to do.
Mm.
Right, just write it down, whatever it was. And then we finished the seminar. I can barely remember what he talked about, but I remember that. And I remember the end of the seminar. He said, turn your paper over. He said, that's what you should pursue for your career. On my paper, I wrote acting. No, the question was, what would you do for free? That was the question. What would you do
Ah,
for free?
yeah. Right,
Right.
right, right,
And
right.
so I wrote that down. I turned it over. And I remember going home and talking to my mom about it. She goes, all right, well, you can forget that.
she,
But
she out of love dashed the dreams. Out of
and
love and
she
protection and safety.
right.
Baby, I
And
don't
she
know if that's
meant
gonna pay the bills.
right, exactly. She meant well, right? It hasn't been a bad life, but I encourage people to go back and start thinking of those things that you would do for free. Figure out. It may not be that they're going to be that income producing to pay the mortgage and the car payment and the school tuition at this time, but figure out how to carve out some time in your human experience to dedicate. If it's just an hour a week, something that you can dedicate to, that you'll find that you'll get more energy out of life. And then finally, understanding for career clarity, is the environment suitable for your productivity? That means you have people who are driving in, commuting to work, 2-hour drives. Is not, by the time they get there, they're dead tired, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that may not be suitable for them. And then you have people who are working at home who are not suited for that because they don't know how to turn off that work environment. They find that they're working a 15, 16-hour day because they don't have those work-life balances set up at home. So figuring that out for yourself, what do you need for your productivity?
Yeah, you also talk about, I love the part about the passion, about what would you do for free. I think that taps us into our reason we took an incarnation on the planet. What is our passion? Why did we arrive here in the first place? So when you have people ask that question, you're inadvertently tapping them into the reason they even got here in the first place, and to figure out a way to unleash their soul. It's kind of a trick into their spiritual nature. Under career clarity, you're inviting them to actually tap into their soul. I mean, do you know you're
Yeah.
doing that, or is that are you tricking them on purpose, or?
Well, it's a different language for different people, right? I think,
Yeah.
because that resonates with me. My whole inside is jumping at just at that kind of conversation. So I coach people at all levels of, I guess, conversation. So for some people, you got to use the word career clarity, but it is exactly what you said. What was your sole purpose for coming? What was that contract that you created that got you here in this earth experience, right?
Right, right.
And right? It's a knowing. It's like no one need to tell me in the third grade when I did my first audition, that that's what I came for, that was my gift to give. That was also a gift to give back to me. No one need to tell. When I had that experience, it was like eureka. I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? This is for me, right? And so I've lived a whole life and prioritized other things over that, but it always comes back to that. And I encourage people to do that deep soul work on yourself. Know what it is for you, and don't be afraid to try something and then say, oh, that's not it. Try something else. I get clients all the time who say, well, I took up this and I got to stick with that. You do not. Right?
Right.
You are a human evolving. And if you try something, it may be good, but that may not be it. Try the next thing, please. And until you discover you, you are a work in progress. You are your best subject. There's no other earthly subject more important than you understanding who you are and what you came to give.
Right. Now, I love this. So because a lot of people just get stuck. They have a job. They think they just have to stay there forever. But you're giving people permission to love themselves and to be flexible and to try things and to be creative, to be innovative, resourceful. And a lot of times people won't do that because they're afraid. They're afraid if they make a move, they won't be supported by the universe, won't be supported by God, they won't be supported by whatever. But you're giving them a level of coaching and encouragement to at least step outside the box to some degree.
Yes, and I love the fact that you brought up the fear thing because oftentimes it takes some time for people really to understand that what's holding them back is fear. And it's just, we all say the first fear you have is the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, right? So I just tell people, I said, so I want you to put your feet really firm on the earth, right? And I want you to mispronounce all these words in this card that I'm going to give you. I want you to just do it wrong. Right. And see if the earth decides that it will no longer support you. Right. You can do it wrong and the earth will still support you. You're all right. Wrong is right too. So you're okay. Experience it, learn from that, and go to the next thing.
Yeah. Seemingly wrong is it's just learning. Yeah. It's like an athlete striking out in order to get a hit, or missing a basket, or someone misspelling a word and finally getting the word right. It's just learning. You're just teaching people. It's all about learning. It's not about pass and fail. It's about learning. You use the word evolving. You're evolving all the time. You're not just a static being. You're going to be perfect, or perfectionism. You're evolving. So in the process of evolving, you're learning, you're growing, you're unfolding. I like to say, when you make a mistake, you're actually having a mistake. Like you're an actor, so you have a mistake. Yes. You just take it over.
Yep, just take it over. And it's so true. Like, I tell people all the time, like, we watch children learn how to walk. It's the most fascinating thing. They weren't walking 2 seconds ago and now they're walking. They take 2 steps and they fall down. And guess what's there? The earth, right? It doesn't say, hey, you fell down, forget about it, right? And we watch them get up and they try again and get up and try again. And before you know it, they're not only walking, but they're running. We have to allow ourselves to be that, without any shame, guilt, or condemnation. Okay, well, I missed the mark. Okay, I missed the mark. That's it. What I have just discovered, I think it was Einstein that said this, what I've just discovered is another way not to reach the intended goal. Chart it down. I won't do that one again. And if I do it again, I'll be resilient even faster. My bounce back game will be even better. So just make life really, honestly, there's an author, you probably know her, Florence Scofield Shinn, and she said, the game of life and how to play it. I love that book. I love that title, where you approach things as a game, even the Great Exhaustion, and figuring that out for yourself and saying, okay, well, you know what? This is uninspiring, because that's what happens when you're exhausted. You're just not inspiring. And just start watching yourself throughout the day. What happens when I'm bored? What happens when I'm sleeping, sitting in my, 5th or 6th meeting of the day? Start just watching yourself. Become curious about you. Make a study of you.
Absolutely. Life is a game and how to play it. I think that takes the seriousness out of things, because, in a multi-dimensional universe, there's nothing serious really going on. It's just the universe playing itself out, and energy changing, and people coming and going. We make things serious, but you're inviting us to play. I created a word many years ago called plevolving. You evolve while playing, rather than taking everything and taking yourself seriously too. You get in the spirit of play. Like when you're a kid, when you play with your friends, you're not trying to win. You're just playing.
Right.
And you're not attached to an outcome. But then when we grow up, we take everything so serious, So I coined a play called Plavolving. You get into the spirit of play, even if you're in business, you're in a relationship, you're at work, but you're in the spirit of play as you are, instead of being serious, you're reverential. You have a reverence about what you're doing. Your creativity, your acting, your singing, your whatever, you're working at a particular job. So I'm hearing that vibration come from you.
Yeah.
If you
That's
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead. No,
wonderful.
go
I was gonna say that's absolutely wonderful. When you were saying it, I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful if when we catch ourselves coming out of that spirit of play, that something would rattle our cage. And maybe that is the stress, right? That's trying to rattle our cage and say, whoa, 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 you're stepping out of the zone of evolving, right? Let's go for a walk. Let's put our head down on the desk for a minute. Let's go get a drink of water so we can get back in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need these little triggers, and perhaps one of the things that I study and talk about with my clients and watch with my own life is perhaps that's what these unwanted things that happen in our life are trying to do, is to rattle that cage a little bit. Say, hey, wait a second, you're starting to fall asleep into this area where you're overthinking, taking this too seriously. I know this isn't what you want. I got it. But what if this was just a movie, right? What if this was just a movie and you were a character? What would your character do, right? And I had to do that for so many things in my life. I tell people, so many that I would say, okay, if this was a movie, I'd be thoroughly entertained and I'd be talking to God. I said, but this is actually happening. I am not entertained and I don't find this funny. But I would go on through the process and say, okay, I've been cast in this role. What would she do next? Let's see if what would happen if I do that. And just trying to, these little games that we can play with ourselves. And if we really do approach life like it's a game, I know there's a lot of heavy things happening.
Yeah.
But if we really approach it that way, it gives ourselves a bit of time to just breathe.
Right. You're talking about in the playtime, you're talking about having a little recess.
Yeah.
A recess
Just
from the process. A recess from the process.
Yeah.
And
A little breathing time.
Have a little introspection. And then I like too, what would this character do? So now you're having people be kind of a transcendent observer, to observe yourself and not be in the mess, but to observe, and you can make higher choices from that foundation. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we're hitting all the marks, right? So as I knew you, of course, would. But right, if you take this position, right, and I try to teach this to clients. Some people are receptive, but if you take this position where you just float a little bit above yourself and you just watch yourself, and you just start, I said, oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why, I can see why you respond like that, without any judgment, and just start watching. You would feel this sense of peace, probably like you've never felt before, as you're just watching this little human body interact in all these different scenarios, right? And without judgment, you carry that human body home at the end of the night. You congratulate it, give it some rest, and start the play over again tomorrow.
Right. You made a very powerful statement. You said without judgment. That's hard for some people, to actually just observe themselves without judging themselves, because they have all those voices of perfectionism and what they think other people are thinking about them, or what they should do, or what their mother said they should do. And you're inviting individuals to do the observation above yourself, but don't judge it. Just observe it. Don't judge it. Yeah. So now you can get a greater sense of clarity.
Yeah, because we have wrongly been taught, and I'm not coming down on parents, because I'm a parent. I did the same thing, probably unknowingly, right? So we have to retrain ourselves. But there is this thought that we've been raised with, many of us, is that we can criticize or punish ourselves to sustainable success. Cannot, right? We cannot. We have to. We only get sustainable change, that is, through love, patience, and tenderness, because that's when we're safe enough to be honest, right? If we believe that every time I make a mistake, I'm going to be punished or criticized, well, then I'll never be honest with myself. And I'm talking about self-talk, self-awareness. So when we really talk to ourselves and say, I'm going to love you no matter what. I am going to love, I'm here for for the whole run of this. I'm going to love you no matter what. That's the first thing. And then we push that forward, and maybe not even in this direction. Like I studied A Course in Miracles, and they said that it starts actually with you loving outward. And I kind of see that too. But either way you want to do it, I don't believe I don't get wedded to the process, just knowing that we should be doing this. Is that when you say to everybody else that I understand that we are humans, and humans occasionally do things that I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I understand why you did that. I don't understand why you did, but I'm going to do some things that you don't understand too, which means that I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge me. Right. And that's it. I am not concerned of your opinion of me. I just can't be. I can't control your opinion of me. I can control the love and forgiveness I have for you and the love and forgiveness I have for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stephen Covey says circle of influence, circle of control. That's my control. And being in that space, and I'm not judging anything. If I make the same mistake 100 times and everybody's looking at me, oh my goodness, is she not okay? Well, maybe not. Maybe I'm not okay today. I'll try again tomorrow. But I'm not going to love myself any less.
Absolutely. You also talk about vitality, what gives me vitality and what drains me as a part of self-reflection in terms of moving forward with life or job clarity or career clarity or just life itself. To have that kind of self-analysis, what's draining me, what's giving me vitality. A lot of people don't do that.
No, they don't know. Right. They're just going through the motions. You can do that in not only with your job, but with people. Certain people come around, you already feel, whew, right. So know that about your job. But there's certain, we're talking about, the great exhaustion. Know what tasks really, really drain you,
Mm-hmm.
right? That this task is draining. And then there's a couple approaches to that. Brian Tracy, a great business leader and coach, always says, eat the frog early in the day. And I tend to do this. I know the things that drain me, well, my energy and my patience is greatest early in the day. I'm a morning person. So
Mm-hmm.
when I look at that email, I'm going to hit those things first. The tasks that take a lot of patience, that typically drain me, I'm going to do those first. When I have my high energy level, I'm going to get them out the way because they're not going to tax me as much. If I save them to the end of my day, it's really going to impact me into my evening. So you have to, but know yourself. That's not some people need to do that differently. They want to do all the fun stuff first and do that draining stuff at the end. It's no set way of doing it. The most important thing, in my opinion, is that you really have this sense of self-awareness. I know that doing this, not the whole job may not be horrible, but these particular things do not suit well with me. They drain my energy. I know that I have to do them in order to keep this job, right? That's the reality. That's big, adult talk. So you may have to do those things, but try to situate them in your day in such a way that they don't impact your whole overall outlook on your job or yourself or your coworkers, right?
Right. So in your coaching, you're assisting people to basically become more aware of themselves and to make choices from that place of observation. So they actually can just, like you just said, they can see, okay, what drains me, what gives me vitality, So you're basically just waking up people. You're having people wake up to themselves and come out of being a perfunctory, going through life, having to just do the same thing over and over and over again. So, and I can feel by your vibe, your presence, I can see why you had to act. And I can see why you have a radio program. And I can see, you have a feeling, you have a vibe about you, I watched something about you a little earlier and I said, "Ooh, she has this thing," you know what I mean? Your
Right.
smile, it's a thing, you have to be in front of people.
Right. Well,
You,
thank you so much for that. I think
yeah.
my job is to rattle people's cage, right? My job is just the cage rattler because the answer is already within you, right?
Yeah.
You're just focusing on the question. So my job is to rattle your cage. So you change your focus. You're focusing on the question. Okay, got it. Then you believe that's the question, but the answer is already in you. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have the question, right? And I always tell people, I know that's true because I have a friend. We both went to pharmacy school together. His whole life, he wanted to be a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a desire to be a pilot, not even a little bit. But the question that he had was, how will I pursue being a pilot? Now, my question was, how will I pursue being an actress? Right.
Yeah.
And once we became more self aware, right, the answer is in there. The answer was that he became a pilot. Right. That was his answer. I never became a pilot. That was never my question. Right. But so sometimes we just need somebody to come along and love on us long enough and rattle that cage just enough so we can resonate at the vibrational energy of the answer
Right.
instead
Which
of
is
the
what a
question.
coach does. That's what a coach does.
Yeah.
A good
Right.
coach
Yeah.
rattles your cage and lets you think about yourself differently and think outside the box and think about the possibilities and the potential that's within you rather than just the problem. Because as I like to say, potential is always bigger than the problem. I mean, that's a law. Your potential is always bigger than your problem. So you're helping people focus on their potential. And then the problem, as I like to say, the word problem comes from the word emblem. So the problem is emblematic of self-talk. It's emblematic of opinions and judgments. And so you're telling people there's something about you that's bigger than all of that. And then you
Oh,
coax it out of them.
yes, I love that you're saying this because it's so true. The way that self-talk, and we haven't talked about that, but that frames everything for people. You can tell a person's self-talk by some of the situations that show up in their life and how they show up in their life, right? And I say, okay, well, this is the story that you're telling yourself because two people experiencing the same thing are telling themselves two different stories, right?
Right.
This change that self-talk slowly but surely. And, people say, fake it till you make it. I don't necessarily believe that you're faking it. I believe that you were faking it before, and then you just stuck with it. When you start, saying, I can't do it, I'm not enough, I don't know enough, I don't have enough, all the not enoughs. That was the faking part, but you said it so often to now you're believing it. So you just want to reverse it. I am enough, I have enough, I know enough, I am enough, I have enough, I know enough for whatever is going on. You'll be
I like
okay.
that.
You will survive.
I like that. It is absolutely true spiritually because all of the imprints that says that you're not enough is not real. It's just an interpretation of an experience that and a mask that a person has put on. So that is the fake. That's the unreal.
Yeah.
That's the temporary. So you're assisting in bringing people back to the real, the part of them that's totally straight from the source, untouched by time and experience and heredity and all of that. And they're not really faking, they're actually coming into coherence with their real self until they remember, oh my God,
Oh,
this is who I really am. I forgot.
yes.
I got caught in circumstance. I got caught
Yeah,
in
all these distractions, right? I got all the distractions and I
right.
forgot who I am. And it's so beautiful when you see people wake up to that even a little bit and they sit up taller, their talk is different. I'm like, yeah, now remember, this is you, right? And there is no ego in that because when you realize that this is you, this powerful being is you, then you become the most compassionate. To give and to receive is the same thing. So you become the most giving individual because you realize the power that you have. You're just the most magnanimous individual because there's no lack in this universe. Lack is also a concept that we created, right?
Absolutely.
To
Not
create
real.
this false hierarchy, right? False hierarchy of, if there's a lack and I got everything, then I can be, over everybody else. That's also a false concept. There's absolutely no lack.
And lack can exist in a multidimensional universe. As you say, it's a mental concept that people experience. And just because you're experiencing it doesn't make it real, you see, because people can experience things that aren't real. When I was attending college, I went to Morehouse College, and we used to have what we call a practical joke. Now, I don't know why we called it practical, but take a book of matches, light it, blow it out, and then touch somebody with a cold match, and they would form a heat blister. And then they'd get mad. We say, no, I touched you with a cold match. Come. And then we go to the next person, light a match, blow it out, quickly touch them with the cold match, and they feel like they were getting burned. So they were having an experience of something that wasn't happening. you know. So the world is oftentimes experiencing things that aren't real. One of them is lack. It's an experience based on a concept. So they end up experiencing this thing over and over until you break that concept and realize we live in a sea of abundance, infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and begin to live at that level. We continue just keeping experience the concept of lack. And as you said, there are people that would like to keep us in that construct so they can be over us and control us,
Yes.
and hierarchy,
The hierarchy is so
false
true.
hierarchy,
Yeah, false hierarchy is so true. So I'm so glad we're talking about this. This is a great conversation because I tell people all the time, I say, whatever you believe, you can make your whole body react to it. If you go to bed, you watch a horror movie on television and you go to bed and then you have that whole thing playing in your mind and you wake up frightened and you look around, there's nothing there. You have created this whole world within yourself, one by what you expose yourself to. So you junk in, junk out, be careful, right? You have power over what you can expose yourself to, right? So all of these senses, our five senses, help to guide us through everything. And we get to, for the most part, command what we do with these five senses. But again, this is a power tool that we are very lackadaisical about because no one really talks to us about how powerful it is. I mean, most of us can remember when we were kids, the five little monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil.
Right,
We can remember hearing that stuff, right? We didn't realize that was truth. It was truth being taught in a playful way, so we would remember it. So what you expose yourself to on a regular basis, when you have a diet of lack, you start to internalize that and push that forth in your life because our external life goes in the direction of our most dominant thoughts.
Yes.
Our thoughts come from the things that we expose ourselves to. So be deliberate, get around people, even at your job. Don't associate with people who are also exhausted if you try to come out of exhaustion. Right? You're looking for the people who are still excited so you can find that for yourself, or spend your lunchtime alone, right? So you can power talk yourself into your next level of greatness. It may very well be that you're leaving that company or that experience and you're going to go out on your own or go someplace else, but you'll never reach that self-realization if you have a diet of lack, surrounding yourself by people who are continue to fuel that part of that narrative, right? It's so very important. Our self-talk, what we expose ourselves to, realizing that we are creating our external world. I know that's hard to believe. And I look at some of the things that should my life, Michael, and I say to myself, you gotta be kidding. With all my power, that's what I manifested.
That's what I say to people sometimes. I say, we've come here as cosmic beings and we've just tied ourselves in knots. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. We've tied ourselves in these knots and we've used all this creative power to shrink ourselves into these tiny experiences. And you use the word power talk. I love that, power talk. You got to power talk into a greater expression. And then we are the company that we keep. Ultimately, we become the company that we keep. So we have to keep high and holy company. That doesn't mean religious. It just means people who are living on the edge of vision, living on the edge of becoming their best self. I always say that the most dangerous people in the world are people who do not have a vision. They're dangerous to be around because if you just hang with people that don't have an intention or a vision, you can be sucked into that downward spiral of woe is me. And so I like that power talk and who you're hanging out with. And then also, I like what you had to say about the dominant thoughts. We have to allow, what is the biggest voice in our head? It has to be an affirmative voice. You have to be aware that those other voices, you let that affirmative voice get stronger and stronger and stronger to the other voices become drowned out, or you don't pay attention to anymore, Then, as you said, which is true, that dominant voice will then become your external circumstance. As within, so
without. Oh my goodness.
It's law.
Yes. This is the law. And I know we're making it sound really simple and easy when we're on this.
It's simple, but it's not easy because you have to practice.
Exactly. I call it simple hard because it's a simple concept, right? But we're living in a world of distractions and illusions. So all of the time, again, we're playing a game, right? So you think about hide and go seek, right? So we're playing a game. So all of the time, it's like I get up saying, with a smile on my face saying, okay, I'm ready, right? And then these curveballs come, but my challenge, what do they say? Here's your assignment if you choose to accept it, right? My
Right.
challenge is to recognize that this is a distraction, right? It wants me to focus on this. Now, here, can I raise my level of consciousness to
Mm-hmm.
still see the truth, the light, if you will, behind that dark cloud?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's challenging. That's why it's more than one of us in this earthly experience. Because I'll call my brother and I say, okay, this is what happened. I'm a mom and I tend to worry sometimes, and I'll call my brother and I'll say, okay, this just happened. Okay, well, hold on. What do you believe about that? And we just talk through it, right? And so you have to have. I believe in the power of relationships, right? And it's important that you choose those carefully, right? All sorts of
Dividing off a
relationships.
chunk of
Choose,
your destiny.
yeah.
Every
Oh, yes.
every friendship or you're actually choosing a part of your destiny. So you want to be mindful, heartful, and careful. Yeah.
Yeah. So so when you're exchanging with somebody, you say, okay, this is heavy on my heart. That person is not judging you, but they will reroute you,
Right.
right? To okay, I could see how you could see it that way. But remember, what do you believe about this? And start asking you questions and get curious. And before you know it, you've already power talked yourself in a position, right, of positivity, of optimism, of the truth. And that thing may still be happening, right? But they say speak to the mountain and the mountain will move.
Mhm.
Okay. You are the mountain. Speak to yourself and
Speak
move.
speak to yourself. Yeah, I like this idea of reframing distractions because there comes a time as we're growing where we can be aware of distractions without being distracted by them. That's a state of consciousness. It's like that's a distractant, but I'm not going to be distracted by it. And so when you're doing all the things that you're coaching people to do, that becomes another level. It's like I'm aware of distractions, but I'm no longer distracted. It's like the athletes do that very well. The people are
Yeah.
screaming at them, you know, bad or good, and they're able to
Yeah.
focus and do what their assignment is. A doctor, having a major
Yeah.
surgery, he's sweating. You know what I mean? There's a distraction
Mhm.
there, but he's focused and you're encouraging people to be aware there's distractions, but we don't have to be distracted by them. We're bigger than the distraction, you see.
Yes. And give yourself credit because you've seen this before. If you really look at your life and with self-awareness and clarity, it's the same thing that comes to distract you in different forms all the
Ah,
time. Right? The universe knows you. They know what's going to distract you. I always tell people, I say, women are pretty simple. We like, is it shiny? Is it big? Oh my God. Right? It's a distraction, right? Is it glittering, and shiny? And I'm making a joke, but we all know that this thing, whatever it is, it comes in different forms, but it is basic, it is essence. That is the thing that gets us off our game. So start noticing it. Write it down. Oh, there it is again. There it is again. And you'll see it keep showing up. And then pretty soon when it shows up, like you said, you see it and you can just smile and say, yeah, I see you.
yeah, that's right. It's like some people would say that's the ego, you know, distracting you. Some people say it's the devil coming. You know what I mean? But it's but it's the ego itself is trying to keep you small because the ego itself is afraid of the
Yes.
unknown. It doesn't want you to go into the unknown because you can't be controlled in the unknown. So it sets up all these distractions. Remember that movie, The Truman Show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He's in this small town and it's fake and
Mhm.
everybody's watching him on television. And whenever he starts to figure out that he's in an unreal situation, distractions come up, floods and earthquakes and rain and all of this. And that's how our ego is at times. It's like we want to grow and it'll send distractions to keep us small. And so we have to be aware of distractions. They're not a big deal, I'm aware of them, but I'm not going to let them distract me. I have my focus,
Yeah.
my resolve. I know what inspires me. I know what gives me vitality. I know what gives me my passion. I'm walking in that direction, even if I don't know what's going to happen, because something's got to be better than this smallness. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that because you just hit on something that a lot of people talk about when we talk about the great exhaustion is the fear of the unknown. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen. And this is what I say to that too. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, right? When you went to bed the night before COVID was announced, you had no idea it was going to happen. Right. So, and that's what everything we believe, there's this false sense of, oh, I know, punch in at 9, punch out at 5, lunch at 12, right? You never know what's going to happen. We are adaptable. Give yourself credit. You are more adaptable than you're giving yourself credit for. You're more resilient. If you were to sit down and write your history down, you'd be amazed at the things that you have not only gone through, but thrived through.
Yes.
Not
Right.
just survive,
Right.
but
Right.
thrive. You would impress yourself. You think, oh my gosh, who did this? And I was to tell you that that's your story. You did all that. It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, you're a powerful being. Start embracing that part of yourself.
Yeah. You also inspire people to optimize their personal time before the breakdown.
Oh
You like
yes.
talking about that. You like bringing that to reminding
Yeah.
people to do that before they get exhausted. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's I would say slow down so you don't break down, right? So
Yeah.
that's with anything, right? Realize that this is your time and you've given it to a company or someone in exchange for something else, right? But take your leave time, your vacation time. Please take that time. That time is for you to restore yourself. Because when you get to a place where you're breaking down, you're counterproductive, you're putting yourself in danger of not being seen in favorable sight by your company, making additional errors or missing things,
Mm,
being downsized and let go of,
mm.
causing mistakes. Don't, and I hear this all the time. People say, well, I was doing my best. I didn't take my vacations. I worked long hours, right? And now you're at the point where things have just fallen apart. So optimize your time by prioritizing you. When I was in college, I took a financial literacy course and it said, I never forgot this, it said, no matter what your bills are, you pay yourself first, right? And I
That's
tell
right.
people, right, so consider yourself when you're planning out your work week, no matter what's on that schedule, you make time for you first, right? And that's time for your prayer and meditation, however you want to call
Right.
that. That's
Right. That's
time
how
for
I
your
begin
physical.
my day.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. Prayer, meditation. That's the first thing. Some physical activity, a good whole
Same
food
here.
diet. Make sure socialization is so important. People are not doing that as much as when I was growing up, and I was a younger professional. Meeting after work and all those sorts of things was important. It was part of my socialization. People aren't doing that because of the long commutes, because they're so exhausted. But we need human interaction. So you figure out in your week first, when you're sitting down with your calendar. I have a young adult, my daughter's 24 for first professional job. And I love, she does this thing, beautiful little calendar that she's using, and she's prioritizing her week and she's getting her week on there. And I peek over and I say, okay, where's the me time? What do you have in there for you? Right. Because that has to be first. That's how you show up as your best self. Even if you're in a field where you don't want to be, that's going to spark creativity. You don't even know this is happening in the background for you to get in the places and the circles with people and the situations to help move you gently to where you do want to be. It doesn't have to be catastrophic if
Right.
you get your energy flowing properly.
Right. 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 Talk to us about Freedom is Your Birthright, your book. What insight you want to share from that? That's it.
Right. So we kind of hit on it. My whole philosophy is that life is not happening, nothing is happening to destroy us. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that is happening to rattle our cage and help us to reach our next level of greatness. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Freedom is free, but it is hard work, meaning that and you're worth every bit of it. I've had to change the things that I do, the conversations that I get involved with, the thoughts that I allow to roll around in my head so that I can take everything that shows up in my life and just like alchemy, transform it into what I want it to be. So in the book, Freedom is Your Birthright, I never intended to write a book. I was going through what I tell people was a trifecta of pain in my life. I had my marriage was failing. I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and I lost my job all within a month's time. And
in 1 month, all of that happened.
And I'm lying on my kitchen floor trying to prepare, dinner for my kids. I'd stand up. I was too weak to keep standing. I stirred the pot, whatever I was making. I'd lie down on the kitchen floor because it was so cool down there. And while I was lying on the floor, a question just popped in my head because I ask myself questions all the time. I said, "Are you happy?" And I waited, and I felt my soul say, "Yes." And I thought, "Baby, what are you happy about? You love this man." Right. And I thought, well, I'm still happy. You lost your job, mama. I said, I'm still happy, right? You have got diagnosed. And at the time, they didn't know what was going on with me, right? But, they knew something was happening, right? So, and I thought, why am I happy? And it went back to these principles that I teach. And I said, I want to put this in a book. And I wanted to write a small book. I just wanted to write an article at first, but I said, it's got to be under 100 pages so people will have time to read it. And I want them to refer back to it and know that happiness does not necessarily depend on what is happening.
That's right.
Yeah, you can do this. And when you get to the other side, there's a thing I put in the book that a friend of mine used to say when I told her I was going through something. She said, well, keep on going. When you get to the other side, you're going to shine. You're going to shine like
going through hell. Keep on going.
Keep on going. Don't stop what you're stopping for, right?
Don't pitch a tent.
Encourage people, right? Don't pitch a tent. That is not your home. So I want to encourage people with that, with practical. It's all practical things, real life things that I've gone through in my life and that I've learned through in my life, and that it's the reason why I could lie on that kitchen floor that day in what I call the trifecta of pain and hear my soul say, yes, you are happy. Oh, okay.
You touched your transcendent being. You touched your intrinsic nature, because intrinsically joy and peace and love are within us. They're not in conditions. We project them onto conditions. I will be happy when that thing happens. But actually, you're projecting the happiness from yourself out there. You discovered in the midst of pain that you are the source of your own happiness. You are the source of your own peace. And now you're able to touch many people with that awareness. You discovered that things don't happen to you, they happen for you, because the universe is progressive. And so you're able to now share this in a very powerful way, not just through academia, but because you lived it yourself. That's why I hear it in your voice. It's like you it's not academic, it's actually in your soul because you lived it yourself, you see. Yeah. So now you have this Next Step Leadership Academy. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so in my coaching, and when I started out coaching, I coached men and women, but I started hearing a common thread in women. And I'd read about this, but when you actually start seeing it, I would coach men and they'd want to go to do something, and we'd be going over what, they'd say, okay, this is what you need to do this. I said, okay, well, how many of those do you have? How many of those traits and skills do you have? And so maybe it was 5 traits, and I got 1. They'd still go for it, 100% gusto. And a lot of times they would get it. I'd coach women and there'd be 5 traits that you had to have to go for something. I said, well, how many do you have? I got 4. I'm not going to do it. Like, wait a second. You got 4 out of 5 and you won't even try? No, I got to go back. I got to better myself.
They'd wait.
Wait. You're waiting for all the stars and the moon to align. And I believe in being prepared, but I was seeing, and this was a trend that I was seeing. It was like the not enough. I'm not enough. I don't have enough. I said, okay, we got to get together on this and figure out what this is collectively and address it collectively. And I believe there is strength in relationships, there's strength in numbers. We get together in a group. I do group coaching on this for the Next Step Leadership Academy. And we talk about, where you are now, where you want to be, and let's get a quantum leap. Let's do some processes. And it's all internal. It's not even really about the external thing. I'm going to show you that the universe is going to deliver that external thing. That's just a tiny, tiny part of it.
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Because once you make this transformation within yourself, you are a magnet to that which you desire. And
Yes.
so we go over that, and we've had wonderful successes. And I love doing that. I love seeing people wake up to themselves.
Right. A quantum leap is taking the leap without a ladder. It's an awareness that you're already there at some level. Yeah. So I'm gonna segue into this. You did 30 years of healthcare. You got this reoccurring role on The Wire, which was, so many people watched that. That was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell us about that. I mean, okay, you're young, you write on the back of a piece of paper, I want to act, because that was your passion. And you go through all this life experience. How did that happen for you? What steps did you take mentally, emotionally, spiritually to land that role, to actually do what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I got to tell people this, right? Because I think people, when I say that you are enough with everything that you have right now, if you tap into yourself, I auditioned for a play in third grade,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't get the role. I wanted the lead. The play was called Ladies First. I wanted the lead. I didn't get any role. I auditioned for the same play in the fourth grade. I got the role as a tree. I thought, I'll be the best tree they ever had. Some pizzazz, right?
Take a small role and make it big.
right. You'll never forget this tree. But all through high school, it stuck with me. And all through high school, I never acted in any plays in school. I had to work. I worked 2 part-time jobs when I was in high school. I didn't have the time. But I did have an opportunity to audition for a local theater, got a big part in that. And the local paper wrote me up and said, this girl's going to be a star. My mom, with her wisdom, I praise God for that. She made sure that I went on and got good academic. I've never missed a meal since I got that degree. But in my mind and my heart, I was an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I approached everything. I told you, I would say to myself, if this was happening to somebody other than me, I think it would be entertaining. I am, however, not entertained, but I will go ahead and act through this role. That became who I was in everything that I did. When I had my daughter, I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. I looked at my daughter, and she was just a couple weeks old, and I said, I cannot tell or convince this young lady to follow her dreams if I don't follow mine. I enrolled myself, I took an acting class, and I just went from there. I still kept my full-time job, and people say, well, how did you do that? If I look back on it, I don't know how I did it, but I know that was not up to me to figure out the how.
Right.
People get stuck there. I'm trying to figure out how. No. You can't figure out how. Remember, you can't see around corners. You can't see, that far. So you only need to know the what. What is it that I am passionate about? And sell out to that. Become that. Walk and talk and think and sleep and eat as if that is already reality in your life. And that's what I did every day. I'd be doing whatever I was doing, and I could see myself, lights, camera, action, right?
If you know the what, you know the how.
Right. Absolutely. So that's how I did that, and I still practice. I got my doctorate in pharmacy. I still practice pharmacy. I just got cast in a movie last week. And
congratulations.
I still,
you allow your job to support your dream.
I do.
Yes.
I do. And that's what I mean about when you're the Great Exhaustion, you find something that you're passionate about, because we're adults. I got it, we all have expenses. I got a kid in college. I got, so this is my journey. I can't sell it to everybody else. For somebody else, it may be that your spirit is saying, walk away. I got something bigger for you, right? Mm-hmm. So we all are on our different path. There's no one way to do this. The only one truth is that you must become self-aware. You must turn on to the voice within you and trust it.
Yes. That's it right there. That's it right there. Any final words? And also tell us how people can find you.
All right. So I guess my final word is that you are enough. You have enough. You know enough in this moment right now to be successful. Please stop worrying about the moment in the future or the moment in the past. Stay in this moment. You have everything that you need to be successful right now. You can reach me, and I hope that you do, at my website at drdravonjames.com. You can leave me a message there. You can find out about what's going on, where I'm going to be. I'm on Sirius XM radio station as a life coach on the Road Dog Trucking Show the first Monday of every month. And then you can find my show, Dr. Dravon James, Everyday Peace, anywhere where you listen to podcasts.
Everyday Peace, Dr. Dravon James. Thank you so much for being with me on Take Back Your Mind. How do you take back your mind? What is your quick hack to take back your mind?
Oh, two things. Always staying in touch with my breath when I find myself starting to spin down that role of anxiety or overwhelm, connect to my breath. And then I use gratitude like it was oxygen.
That is it. Speaking my language. Thank you so much for being with me today, Dr. Dravon James. Appreciate you. Appreciate your vibration. Appreciate your message. Have a beautiful day. And all of you, take back your mind. Watching right now, thank you for tuning in. Take the words that have been spoken today and practice something. Remember to subscribe and tell your friends about this. Have a beautiful day. Dynamic blessings to you. It's our time for spiritual practice. You've heard the conversation in the podcast. Now it's time to do a modicum of spiritual practice. Taking our attention away from the world, conditions, circumstances, situations, people, places, things, distractions, and have a level of self-reflection to turn within, where it all begins. You realize that as you develop a practice of turning within, you begin to be aware that you are the witness, the observer, and you can witness and observe your own life, the choices, the decisions that you're making. And from that transcendent space, you can basically elicit some real good change. You don't have to be doing the same thing over and over again, making the same choices or decisions, I should say, from a limited perception. You could actually start choosing from an expanded awareness and actually grow into a whole new life. Just turn within in this moment. Extract your attention from the world. Have your feet placed on the ground. Have your hands on your knees facing upward as a sign of receptivity. And give yourself permission to be aware that you are surrounded by a presence of love and beauty and intelligence. This presence is everywhere. It is life itself. And you are sitting in pure receptivity, a living invitation for life to live more fully through you. Life, which is love and beauty and intelligence and more, to live more fully through and ultimately as you. So with our inward glance turning within, palms facing upward as a sign of receptivity, become aware that the body is breathing. Don't augment the breath right now. Just be aware that the body's breathing. And as you're aware that the body's breathing, you're not breathing in the future. You're not breathing in the past. You are very present. breath is happening right now. Feel as though someone is about to tell you a secret. And so your entire being is available to hear and to see. It's making you more present, because you're moving into the feeling tone of lowly listening. Come into the feeling tone of this is your very first time meditating. Though you may be a veteran, entering into this moment as if you've never done this before. So you're present with the breath. You're in pure, receptive and listening mode. You're in beginner's mind. This is my first time. Let us sit in this for a moment. From this consciousness, pure awareness, stillness, give something right now. Give thanks for your existence. Give thanks that you're alive, awake and more aware. Give thanks. From this unbridled thanksgiving, unapologetic thanksgiving, robust thanksgiving and gratitude, we let it be. And so it is. Amen. May you open your eyes and allow for the eternal to be in every step that you take throughout the rest of your day. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. I truly hope that you are enjoying Take Back Your Mind podcast. The Take Back Your Mind podcast is sponsored primarily by the Agape International Spiritual Center. In other words, everything that you see in terms of the staff that puts this together, the editing, the equipment, all of this is sponsored by our Agape International Spiritual Center. So if you are enjoying the podcast, I'm inviting you to support the sponsor. Support Agape. Simply go to agapelive.com and make a donation. And say in the donation that you are supporting the podcast. It allows us to keep broadcasting. It allows us to keep putting these magnificent moments together with these wonderful people that I get to interview. We keep having the possibility of updating the equipment that's necessary and providing the wonderful content that many of you are writing in and saying, I really love the podcast. Support the podcast. Support the sponsor. Agape International Spiritual Center. agapelive.com. You can also text to donate. You can text the word give to 424-321-6243 and put podcast so that we know that you're really supporting this wonderful podcast. Our secondary sponsor is AdaptoZen, ADAPTOZEN. This is my superfood greens. It's nutritionally dense because I teach spirit, mind, and body. We want our body temples to be healthy. So one of the products is my superfood greens. You can go to NutraRise.com. Those three little lines you see, you hit those three little lines and you'll see AdaptoZen. There's two products, my superfood greens and a product called Elevate, which are organic mushrooms for your health. You can put both in your smoothies so that you have main ingredients for the health of your body temple. These are our sponsors. Primary sponsor, Agape International Spiritual Center. Secondary sponsor, AdaptoZen. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be wise. Circulate and share. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.